Hi, it's another episode of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV, and we are live. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a lot to discuss between now and the end of the show. So it's always fun having you around so we can do those chats. Send us a WhatsApp message, 0550-585832. That's a number right there on your screen. Send us a tweet at Citi Sports GHA, hashtag AFCON on Citi. This is the show that helps you enjoy the AFCON from different perspectives, numbers, data, preview, review, analysis, and everything in between. And we are live on Citi TV. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest and we start rolling. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the AFCON Daily Show. Welcome back from that snappy break. Let me introduce the guys in studio. As usual, on the touch, Susu Graham. Hello.
Hello.
You're good?
Oh, excellent.
All right, the friend here is joining me right here. Hello, how are you doing?
Well, how are you?
Yeah. I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Why don't you support Mali?
Not really.
But you must be happy because La Côte d'Ivoire out.
Yes. That excites me a little.
Bad man.
The Cameroonians were also happy. The Ivorians were. As for that history between Côte d'Ivoire and
that rivalry, yeah. I need proper education.
Yeah, I don't know how and why Cameroon and Côte d'Ivoire don't like each other.
Maybe it came from the recent World Cup qualifiers, maybe.
Maybe way before. Maybe 2005, it could be. All right, let's have a look at the fixtures first before we get into the details. There you have it. 2 games settled via the shootout. It was Côte d'Ivoire 0, Egypt 0. Egypt prevailing 5-4. And in that other game, it was Mali 0, Equatorial Guinea 0. That game looked like a game destined for penalties almost from the very beginning, while the other game looked like a goal was going to happen, but it didn't. And eventually, we are where we are. Let's have a look again at the fixture list for the quarter. So the quarterfinals have been set up nicely. That's the tree, and I think we'll keep it here. That's the tree there. You see Gambia, you see Cameroon, Egypt, Morocco, Burkina Faso and Tunisia, and then Senegal with Equatorial Guinea. So that's where we are in terms of the road to final and the fixture tree ahead of the rest of the competition. We'll get back to that a little later. But let's start off with the Mali encounter. And it was the second game of the day played under the lights. It started at 7 p.m. Ghana time. And then you could see the Malians trying to get a breakthrough. I'm sure the two teams would have wanted to avoid the shootout. Unfortunately, they couldn't. And in the end, the Malians paid the penalty. Literally, they did pay the penalty as they got kicked out of the competition. Let me get initial thoughts. Daniel Kante has also joined us. I'm sure our viewers will see him in a bit there. The polka-dotted tie makes a lovely return. But friend, let me take your thoughts before we take Daniel's. Did you get the sense that this game was heading for the shootout, or you felt in the end Mali or maybe Equatorial Guinea would find something to end the game and take us all out of our misery?
Well, to be fair, I thought if any goal was going to come, I was probably expecting it to come from the Malians. Some of these crosses we talk about are decent chances, but there was a really good opportunity as well from inside the box. And I think Kamara skied it, and he didn't even hit the target. That was probably the clearest opportunity of the game. The Malian goalkeeper made a mess of this. Wasn't a chance at all. But we always talk about the fact that in this competition, quality always shines through. But at the same time, we are seeing teams that have shown that proper coaching and a good desire and hearts can take you far. The Gambia and Equatorial Guinea are the two biggest examples of how much working together as a team, even if you don't necessarily have the best of talents, can take you very far. And, the moment this game headed into penalties, I think a lot of people probably expected that Equatorial Guinea would win, because usually when the game heads into penalty shootout, the not so better team tends to win it, because it looks like that's probably their best chance of winning this competition.
That was a lovely.
It was lovely. But then the goalkeeper for Equatorial Guinea, only 20 years old. What a hero. What a performance. And we talk about, it's one thing that's standing up for me in this competition is the quality of goalkeeping. I think, was it 2 days ago or so, we debated whether or not the penalty misses were as a result of poor kicks being taken or as a result of good goalkeeping. I think three penalty shootouts have now shown us that if you have a quality goalkeeper, you stand as well a chance as anybody. And last night's matches were clear indications of how good goalkeepers can take you far in this competition. The moment they head into a penalty shootout, you want your goalkeeper to at least save one or two to keep you in the game. Because anybody can miss, but the goalkeeper has to be in a position to save some. If your goalkeeper doesn't save any penalty, more likely than not, you're not going to win. You can't just depend on the opposition to miss only their kicks, and then your goalkeeper not make any saves to try and win the competition. So, I don't feel sorry for Mali. I think in this competition as well, they have scored a lot of goals. I think they were second to, not them. That was Côte d'Ivoire, and I don't feel sorry for them either. They were second to Cameroon in terms of goal score, so they didn't find goal scoring a problem. Mali themselves, however, in this competition, have really struggled to come into good form, and they've been winning games by 1-goal margins, and we talked about their form coming into this competition, not many people wanted to face them in the World Cup playoffs. But now, after this performance, Tunisia will be fancying their chances because Mali have been, like many other countries really in this competition, especially from West Africa, it's not being impressive at all. And I think it's only poetic justice that they got kicked out. Okay,
Daniel, deserved result?
Yeah. Based on the game, try and nick a goal themselves. But you could tell that, and we said at the beginning of the knockout rounds, some teams actually go there with a game plan of frustrating their opposition until penalty shootout so that they can also have a chance. And it looked like the more the game grew, the more Equatorial Guinea saw the need to keep compact and resolute and just push for the penalty shootout because it's anybody's game. And I don't know what they practice at the training ground, but we've already seen Owono save a penalty in this competition. In fact, it was his last-minute penalty save against Sierra Leone that let Equatorial Guinea qualify from their group. So he's the reason they made it out of the group stages, and he's also the reason why they've qualified for the quarterfinals again. And look, he is good. He's written his name down in the history books for life. I don't see how anybody will surpass this feat that he's done. It's absolutely brilliant for him. But I like game plans like that. You see, it's not. I think with in modern day football, a lot of people have come to accept this notion that attacking free flowing football is the way to go. So if you don't do that, then you're not doing the right thing. And I really don't believe in that. Okay. If you can do it and it works for you, fine. If you cannot do it and it doesn't work for you, you can devise a strategy that will let you win. At the end of the day, I don't think the Equatorial Guinea fans were jubilating in the stands because their team played well. They were jubilating in the stands because they won. And that's what you want to do. You want to win at the end of the day. So whatever method and whatever strategy that you put in place to make sure that you win, just do it and make sure you get the result. And for them, it's worked for them in this competition. They didn't come from the easiest group. It was quite difficult if you look at where they came from. But look, they've done some good for themselves, and I'm happy they're in the quarterfinals.
All right.
You have to mention the fact that they've been to 3 AFCONs, and each of them, they never get kicked out in the group stages.
The success rate is really good.
Yeah, when they co-hosted, they were in the quarterfinals.
Then they went to the semis once. Now they are back in the quarterfinals.
When they hosted, Ghana was the one that kicked them out. I remember, so 3-1.
Interesting stuff there. Susu, from a numbers perspective, how did this game play out? We'll get to the penalties in a bit. But how did the game play out from a numbers perspective?
I think Daniel said they frustrated the Malians. You look at the Malians we talked about how impressive their midfielders, the ball players they have. And the Equatorial Guineans saw that, and then they decided that they are going to mess up their spreadsheet by defending deep, using their frustration. And I want to point out some stats like at the bottom. Look at the fouls, clearances, and long passes. So you can see that in all of these things, they outdid the Malians because there was more long passes, but they had less of the ball. So they were moving in direct, they were moving in fast. Then you see that their clearances, 25-12. So they were defending deep, clearing the ball, and the fouls, very important. 3 more, the fouls is very important. They had 31 fouls to 11. So you can see that they are stopping the momentum of the Malians. They are breaking up their play. They are not letting them get into that free-flowing attack. And I think the Malians struggled from not having a striker. We've seen them struggle with goals throughout the tournament. So they have the possession, great midfielders, moving the ball around. But who's up top to convert those chances? I think most of their goals have been penalties. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Kone has scored two or three penalties in the tournament. That's been the majority of their goals. So they've not created much from open play. And it happened today too. I think the Equatorial Guineans knew this was going to be a game they wouldn't have the ball. So let's move the ball fast. Let's try and find space in behind. And the numbers show they did just that to perfection. So we are seeing a lot of small teams execute great game plans. And once you get a team better than you to penalties, I would consider it a victory, whether you win on penalties or not, because you've made it a coin toss. You've brought the game to a coin flip. Back in the day, they would have drawn lots. That's what we used to do before penalties. So at that point, you've done enough. You've matched them, and I think it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a gladiatorial performance from them, and I would like to see what they do going forward. But like I said, their spreadsheet isn't looking very good right now. The teams you favor are being thrown out, because you saw Ivory Coast again. We saw them on their spreadsheet. So these guys, they couldn't kill the game in normal time, and that's what happened to them.
Nathan, just a quick one on Equatorial Guinea, and this is why I like pragmatic managers. We all sat here after the first game. I remember where we commended them against Cote d'Ivoire. They played better than Cote d'Ivoire. They played nice football, but they didn't get the result. And then after that, what did they do against Algeria? They frustrated the Algerians, got their goal through a set piece, went on to the final game against.
And then we see the goal they scored against Algeria.
Went on to, of course, beat Sierra Leone in the last game, and then they progressed. They've now reached the quarterfinal, so it's brilliant for them at this particular point in time. And you see the way they are playing, you cannot put your money against them. You cannot honestly don't write any team off as it stands. Okay,
all right. So the Equatorians getting through there. Yes, we said this was I think this was a very easy save. It
was a bad
penalty. Very, very easy save to make. And anyway, maybe we should get into the conversation about the quality of the shootout. We had 2 shootouts. Maybe we'll compare the two, but maybe we can start off looking at this particular one. I thought some of the kicks were really good. Top corner, giving the keeper no chance.
In sudden death.
Yes.
In sudden death, they were. I think the Malians. There was an Equatorial who hit it to the top corner.
Yes.
And he stood very close to the ball.
The 20-year-old, he managed to find enough
stood very close to the ball.
But I thought the last Sako's penalty was terrible.
It wasn't good. We talked about the quality of penalty kicks, and
I don't think it was a tight. I think it was a penalty from somebody who doesn't often take one.
It's like the Bailly one. It's like.
I have a lot to say about that penalty.
the Bailly penalty.
But we'll get to it.
We'll get to that.
But I have a lot to say.
It's
very good penalty.
He looked very disinterested.
I think it was more out of fear.
The quality of the kicks. I mean, the best penalty is when you send the goalkeeper the wrong way.
The part that struck me, guys, didn't anybody notice the guy lifting his left hand before kicking it?
Yeah.
Why, he thought he was going to take a free kick when he was giving the signal.
No, he was saying something.
I'm playing it.
I think it was
okay. I thought he thought it was a long free kick, but you give the signal. I'm dropping it into the box. But anyway, Jesus Owono, the hero there, I saw a headline that says Jesus the Savior. Interesting stuff there.
He did save some penalties, so it's there.
All right, we move it on. So the Equatorians progressing. They're making it to the last 8, and they'll be very delighted with their progress so far. 3 AFCONs, 3 quarterfinals places at least.
Senegal should be very afraid.
When we get there,
when we talk about them, do you think they should be bothered?
They should be bothered. The same way I said Nigeria needed to be worried about Tunisia, and they wrote them off.
And they paid the price.
I think I'm very worried about Senegal, even though their spreadsheet has them as one of their favorites. But the way they are playing, I think their spreadsheet
I don't want
is
to see that spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet. No, but the spreadsheet is important.
No, my problem with the spreadsheet. Yes. It's pushing the narrative that if you are not playing a certain way, you are not doing. That's why every time you guys show the spreadsheet, I always tell you to look at the guys at the bottom of that spreadsheet and ask yourself if they are still in the
But look, I heard Asamoah's comments on Super Sports, and he made a very interesting point that said he thinks that all the big teams that come into this competition are over-fixated on the tactical side, forgetting that there's a certain emotional side of the game. And he thinks the smaller teams are rather, they recognize that, look, this is all we have. Let us give it everything. And look at them, they are qualified.
I actually think it's the opposite.
I agree with Fent.
I think it's the opposite.
I think the smaller teams are actually better tactically prepared than the bigger teams.
Okay.
Because I look at Tom Saintfiet and the sort of football that he's got Gambia playing, and I look at Milovan Rajevac and the sort of football he's got Ghana playing, and I'm looking at the two things and said the only difference between those two, not the only difference, but one of the biggest differences between those two teams is the managers, the tactics they deploy, being ready for every single situation. You look at the Gambia, and the Gambia have come into this competition, and the coach has used 26 of the 28 players they took to the competition. This is a coach that trusts in every single player. Yeah. This is a coach that would be losing 1-0, and then he would bring in 2 attacking players to try and ease pressure. Whereas the man from Serbia, if he's winning 1-0, he wants to bring in more defensive. In fact, he wouldn't even make a change until the opposition equalizes. So we're looking at two things. I think the smaller teams have, but the emotional bit of it, very important. Too.
Let's move it on to the game that had everybody talking. It was a big boy clash between Cote d'Ivoire and Egypt. Now, they had met twice in the AFCON. I think 3 times already. One in the 80s, 2006, that Egypt won on penalties. 2008, that they dominated in Kumasi. And this game, guys, I was quite surprised this game never gave us a goal in regulation time, either in extra time.
I wasn't surprised.
Why? Because I thought the game was open.
You see, it was open, but it wasn't. How do I put it? There were spaces, but they were not exploitable spaces. I think it was the Egyptians. If you've watched them this tournament and you watched them this game, they deployed a very interesting tactic, especially in defending.
Okay.
They sat off.
Yes.
But then when the ball entered or when it broke the front two, then they pressed. They pressed it back into the Ivorians' half, and then they sit off again. Yeah. So it was a very, I don't know what that sort of pressing is called, maybe half pressing or quarter pressing. But it was a very interesting, so when the Ivorians have the ball.
The one pressing high,
exactly.
Yes.
They will allow,
the mid-block.
Mid-block. So they allow Cote d'Ivoire to maybe bypass. Yes. They try and block spaces. If Cote d'Ivoire are able to bypass the front two, then they press and send them back. So the Ivorians were actually struggling. And you see, that's why I'm always talking about game plans. You identify your strengths and you try and use them to the best of ability. For the Ivorians, I think at a point they should have, like this Halle thing, it wasn't working out. It really wasn't working. Okay. Halle, for me, and I don't know if to go against the Ivorians or to give praise to Carlos Queiroz, but his deployment of Hegazi was brilliant. And Hegazi was on Halle, and then there was always an extra man to pick up the loose ball. So they always had about 2 or 3 players around Halle because they almost knew that if Cote d'Ivoire decided to go long, they were going for Halle. So it was very interesting. When you saw this thing, even before the game, you kind of knew how Egypt would approach this particular game. And you knew that it wasn't going to be like the Algeria game where Algeria also play enterprising football, open up, and everybody will have space to operate. Cote d'Ivoire will really have to, we're really going to have to do their best and try and open the Egyptians up. And once Frankesi went off, especially creating from the middle became a bit difficult for them. Now they had to begin to go out wide. And by that time, the likes of Zaha and Pepe were frustrated. And you could tell the Egyptians were intentionally doing it, kicking him small, going at him a bit just to get him wound up. And it was never going to work. And once you got to penalties, I don't think Egypt loses on penalties.
No, they rarely do. They almost always get it right, even at club level. So your thoughts on this? I thought we saw a different Egypt to the team that we saw in the group stage, a team that played almost stagnant football. Like they managed to find it in bits and pieces. I thought against Cote d'Ivoire, they were almost fluid from the very beginning. Yeah,
they were. In fact, the first half, they were the much better team.
I think that was why I thought they were going to score.
Yeah. They looked like they had the game under control. Their passing was way better. Their build-up play was better. They found openings. And I think just overall, I always say this, like in football, they're always setting clashes that don't matter about form. And I think this is one of those games. Cote d'Ivoire every time they come up against Egypt, they always seem to fall short. And I don't understand why, but the Egyptians always seem to have the Ivorians' numbers, whether it's from AFCON 2008 here or whether it's from 2010. Everywhere they've met them, they've dealt with them with cheeky ease, like Christopher likes to say. And yesterday, Egypt were actually the much better team. If anybody deserved to win that game in regulation time, it was them. And I think sometimes, and yesterday we made that point about when you're never aware when the big players will step up. Yesterday, I thought they were brilliant, and I thought the bigger players were quite effective. Like Hegazi, he had a really good game yesterday.
I thought Queiroz managed to get a lot out of the supporting cast.
And even Sorby himself at some point. Salah, for the first time, he was actually quite involved in the game. I think against Nigeria, we saw that he was marked out of the game, barely had any touches. Yesterday, he had a few shots. And he brought in other teammates into the game as well. So it was overall a very good game to watch. Generally, from a neutral point of view, I really just enjoyed the football. But again, I like to stress the fact that yesterday the game was actually played between the two goalkeepers. We talk about the quality of goalkeeping and the saves that they made in regulation time were brilliant. And it's. Yes, Sangare in the penalty shooter. That's a different combination.
I was a little worried when the Egyptians lost Shenawi because I figured,
two different goalkeepers who had two. I don't know how to put it, but it was almost like no change was made. The consistency was the same,
the quality was the same.
It really was brilliant to watch because a lot of the saves were not easy saves.
They weren't.
Even else. The save of Halle, that's not an easy save to make because Halle was really close to the pole to get that header in and get that and tip it over the bar. This as well. I mean, it looks easy, but we've seen them beat players. And he saved another deflection that I thought was quite difficult to save. So, the two goalkeepers yesterday, they covered themselves in a lot of glory. But then again, when it goes to the penalty shootout, the one that fails to make a save, more likely than not, you're not going to win.
I have a serious problem with Trezeguet. A serious problem.
Yeah, Mahmoud
Trezeguet.
Look, when you are in a game plan like that where you don't go out with the intention of creating a lot of opportunities, your decision making in the final third becomes very important. What you do with the ball when you have it in the dangerous areas becomes very important.
What you do without the ball,
I'm talking about with the ball, especially when he has the ball. Extra time, Egypt should have won. Honestly, I think it was the second half of extra time. Yes, they should have won the game. There were two glorious opportunities where Salah fed him in, and twice all he needed to do was to cut the ball back to Salah. And he always decides to shoot. And I'm asking myself, who are you? You are just Trezeguet. He's right-footed, the ball is on your left foot.
Clearly,
you shoot the first time, it goes over the bar. The second time, you have another opportunity to pass to the best player on the continent, who is your captain, who is on the field, who is left-footed. That when you cut the ball back, it will land on his favorite foot and probably use that. And you are shooting again. I would have subbed him immediately. No, because I don't get it. Opportunities like that don't come often. So when you get them, you expect the player to do much better. And for somebody with his experience, he's been shooting all his career. How many goals has he scored? Just cut the ball back for Salah and let him score. And he's insisting on shooting all the time.
Oh, Daniel, he even has to So which part of Mahmoud, how much did Mahmoud Trezeguet's misses add to Egypt's XG?
I want to address two things Daniel said before I move into the stats. And the thing he said about game plan, I think Egypt's pressing approach is the right pressing approach in an international tournament. To press all over the pitch requires a high level of coaching, a lot of time to get the patterns right. So why would you want to press all over the pitch and open yourself up? You press in the middle where it's dangerous. And I think that's a perfect strategy for an international tournament. Egypt executed it brilliantly. So I'm
sure the fans will be happy with Mr. Queiroz.
Exactly. And the second thing he said,
yesterday there were no fights.
And the second thing he said about game plans and using your players to the best of their abilities. I don't think Halle is a player who you want to be throwing long balls to regularly. I think that's why he did not do well at West Ham, because even though he's big and strong, that's not his preferred game. He likes the ball on his feet. That's why Ajax, he's looking so great, everything is going so well, because they play the ball on their feet. They are giving him chance. He can score their headers and stuff, but he doesn't want to be the guy who he's up alone, isolated, and he has to be batting against centre backs. I don't think that's the game he wants to play. And I don't think Ivory Coast used enough of him with the ball at his feet. I think his best chances came when they were crossing and that kind of stuff, which he can do. But I think he's more of a ball player. So I think that was a mistake in the way he was deployed. As compared, and which is why Hegazi had a very good game. Because if Hegazi is a big guy, he's 6'3", 6'4". You don't want to be in a physical battle with him, regardless of who you are. So, but let me get to the stats. They went kind of how we expected. I think the Ivorians strangled the possession, and the Egyptians kind of moved the ball quickly into the space behind, like we expected.
I mean, the XGs are almost like 1.1,
exactly,
1.3.
and the Egyptians just shaded the XG. So you could argue, like you people have been saying, that they should have won the game, and the XG just proves they shaded the game. So we saw the Ivorians being a bit more physically dominant, so they won a bit more duels. But the Egyptians moved the ball a lot faster. So you see the penalty area entries, 37-28, despite having less of the ball. The long passes are almost similar, but they had less of the ball, and then they're more through ball. So you can see the Egyptians decided to try and play a bit more on the break, and it really worked for them. But it went down to a lottery of penalties, and I think the Ivorians, I don't think they did their research, or they weren't paying out, because I think Eric Bailly's penalty was very strange, because from the first two dives, you could see that Egyptian keeper was going to go to the right every single time. Yeah. So if you know he's going to go to the right every single time, and you're not going to play a convincing penalty, the least you can do is play it to the keeper's left. Then you play it to his easy side, and you make it in I call that the saving zone, because if you don't get it in the corners and get kind of just in the middle to the side a little bit, it's easy for the keeper to save once he goes the right way. Unless you put it like on the floor so it goes under him. So it was a poor penalty in the sense it was the perfect height. The keeper is going there all the time. I don't know if they'll play all the other penalties, but you notice he goes there nearly every single time. So here it is again. It's in the saving zone, and I don't think exactly. So
it beats my imagination. So
I don't. And when I saw him,
he was attempting I
saw him walking up, I was a bit shocked, because he's not much of a penalty taker as far as I know.
He scored a sweet one in the 2015 shootout against Ghana.
That I remember.
That's when he was coming up. Initially I was like, why is he? And then I remembered, I was like, oh, he actually.
Did you put that one in the
7 years ago?
Did you put that one in the top corner, or
no? I don't quite remember.
In the top corner. Slotted it down. His right.
Because this run up, I think it's a hybrid of a lot of things. Jorginho, Bruno, everything.
Personally, mine is just score. You see, I will not say it's a bad runner, because we mentioned the 20-year from Equatorial. It was the same thing. I think he was even closer to the ball, but he managed to hit it to the top corner. Sweet penalty. So when you are doing it, just score. If you don't score, that's when the story. Exactly, you become a story, and it's very annoying. The pose, the demeanor, even his shots. Look at what are his shots doing up there like that? And then you see the audacity to hop like he's some professional penalty taker. Did you see the hop right? Look at it. He just hopped. You took one step back, and then he hopped like maybe Bruno taught him something before he came. Bruno clearly be very disappointed. Look at the hop right before he hit it. What is he doing?
Did you notice he didn't even look at the ball too?
Not looking at the goalkeeper.
So I think I don't have a problem with run-ups. I don't care whether you run to the center circle, you stand next to the ball. But you have to do certain things right. If you are going to do a penalty, at least watch the keeper.
Look, he was even looking away.
Look at this. Look at this. Oh,
I cannot imagine in the huddle. I cannot imagine the Ivorian huddle like. As he misses that, probably the same. By the
height of the ball.
Like
it was in the perfect height for the goalkeeper to save. Apart from going the right direction, we've seen goalkeepers go the right direction for penalties and don't save them all the time.
So even in the same shootout. In this same shootout, Will Zaha's penalty. The keeper guessed it.
But look at how hard he hit it and where he puts it straight into the. Even Kone, I'd say Kone's penalty took me by surprise, because the way he stopped. But the way he stopped gave the keeper, off balance. Once he has the keeper off balance and you hit it, what did he do to unbalance the keeper? What did he do to? I mean,
it was just so nonchalant.
It cost them their shootout, and I feel like this was their chance to finally beat Egypt. And
I was asking a friend of mine who's in Abidjan that what was happening. And he said, look, he suspects Bailly probably didn't want to take a penalty. And I'm saying that if you don't want to take a kick,
just say it.
Just say it. Don't be part of the first 5. And he was kick number 3. And from what we did from our documentary, we know what kick number 3 is. The most difficult kick to score in a shootout.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, thoughts on the Egyptian kicks? I thought some of the kicks were really nice.
They scored everything.
Yeah.
I think
all of them.
I have
Left
to
footed,
say, I think everyone took a good penalty apart from Eric Bailly, and they all scored. I think everyone's penalties were pretty good
The
penalties.
Ivorians included.
I
That's
think
true.
They took very
I think
good
he
penalties.
was
Kone, Zaha,
and that's how it is.
Pepe.
Fine
You saw the
margins.
look on the Ivorian keeper's face when
Salah was coming.
Mo Salah trying to kick it. If I knew.
I would have had the same.
But you
look
could
if I
tell
was-
even Salah was under pressure.
But that's a pressure.
But I
penalty.
think
it is
I
a
trusted
pressure penalty.
Salah to score. I mean, he went 17 straight Premier League penalties
He's done
without
it
missing.
over.
I
and
I
over.
thought he was
very-
going to blast it, but
That's what he does like to do.
And he always does the same run up.
the same
Hops
one.
to the right and then comes across, bang. And then he does that. And that's the thing about quality penalty takers. Salah
Into the
does this
corner.
run up all the time and he changes angles all the time.
Yes,
He can slide it towards.
But depending on the situation, Salah's pressure penalties always go to the right. Always. If you remember the penalty that took Egypt to the World Cup against
Into-
Congo,
Yes.
he
took
goes
it
to
to-
the right.
okay.
That's like his
A
default
default,
side.
yeah.
Yeah. Anytime he's under pressure,
I have to
you know
say,
he's
when I
going
look
to
at the
blast
placement
it
of his penalties, he puts quite a few of them in the saving zone. But I think he kind of looks at the keeper and is able to guess where the keeper will go. So I think he puts a lot of thought into his penalties, unlike some people
But
who've
to be
spoken
fair,
about enough.
In the shootout, I wasn't impressed with Sangare at all.
Why?
He didn't exude enough confidence.
I just felt generally like he didn't look like he was going to save any.
Look, if you look at the quality of
It's
the
like-
Egyptian penalties,
No, I get it.
for me, Zizou's penalty was the best.
Which
The
one?
goalkeeper, it just went to the roof.
The Hargreaves
Yes.
like penalty. Kind of reminds me of Owen
Fired
Hargreaves.
it into the roof of the
You
net.
know,
That's like
I
a
like it, just
perfect
like
penalty.
the run up, the body shape technique,
And
just
it's-
like Owen Hargreaves.
his demeanor after. He just looked at the pool and he smiled. It's like, I knew the thing was going in. Like, why did you
Yeah.
even bother trying to save it?
Badra just kind of reminded me.
Let me
of-
ask you a question.
It was
If
like
the
Eddie
Ivorians
Ansah
had-
all over
If
again.
the
It's like,
Ivorians had, if the Ivorians had Bohuo,
perhaps they stood a better chance because I tell you what, yes, the quality of the kicks were great, but I think sometimes as well, just looking at the goalkeeper,
persona of the
of the
goalkeeper, yeah.
goalkeeper, and even their attempts prior to your kick, it's all psychological.
Yeah.
I'll take you back to Chelsea versus Tottenham Hotspur, Mendy's first game, not his first game, but his first shootout as a Chelsea player. I would say it was a League Cup, semi-final
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. Everybody could tell that Mendy was not going to save one. Simply by looking at it. And that's when he decided to go the other way. Then Kane went the other way. And it was just like, it almost looked like one of those goalkeepers that always takes a slight step before the kick comes in.
Well,
And so the
you
kicker,
kind of have to fend you. I don't think you can save a penalty if you don't make that initial step before, because it will be moving too fast usually,
but it's-
unless they
yes.
are watching you.
Badra
In
was
the
moving
timing,
too fast.
It's like a range.
Yes.
There are goalkeepers who move early, and I understand what Fent is saying. Players like Hazard, Balotelli, they
Yes.
wait for
They
that
wait for you
initial
to
move.
commit.
And if you commit,
then
of course you can't wait for him to kick the ball
No,
before.
no.
But there are goalkeepers who also time just
But
before
it
you
works
kick
for
before
those
you
guys
do.
because you don't kick with a lot of power. So you have to know who you are facing. For Jorginho is a good example. Jorginho doesn't kick his penalty with a lot of power. So if you have noticed, when he's been saved, the keeper has stood up and waited for him to kick. And because he doesn't kick with a lot of power, you can get to the ball.
easily.
So you have to also know, I think that's the research part. And I think we even mentioned in our documentary that the Ghana Uruguay, if we had done research, we would have known that
Abreu,
Abreu
yeah,
was
was going-
coming to go down. So I think the research is also important. But just to add something small, what Daniel said about Zizou, perfect penalty, because that's the unsavable zone. So that's the opposite of what Bayi did. Because no keeper is saving a penalty you put there with power. No chance. So.
Okay, all right. Let me go to some of the messages. Very interesting messages. This one is from Maha Jallo from Gambia. And he says, I'm always watching from Gambia. I love your Premier League show. And I'm following the AFCON. I love you guys. You guys are doing the best. Okay. Levi from Teshi says, why aren't people making noise about Ivan Salvador? He behaves like Suarez sometimes. What a player, what a character. Tia Malik from Samini in the Northeast region says, Mali disappointed me. I think Mali are like the Black Stars. They choke really well. Our very good friend, Dr.
13, they've not won a knockout game.
Yeah.
That is just
That's really bad. Our very good friend, Dr. T, who has added a reminder that
Is
she's a lady.
Madam Dr. T.
Madam Dr. T High, says the Ivorians were exhausted by the last third of the second half. At that point, it was as though they were just playing with the ball. What did Pepe do with all the chances he got? He was kicking the ball weakly, more like, I'm boring her words, he says, more like romancing the ball.
Romancing the ball.
Says, kudos, Equatorial Guinea. Better luck next time. And she says, I'm a lady, by the way, not a guy. And yes, some ladies enjoy Citi sports too. Thank you, Dr. T. We love you too. This one says, the tournament has taught us that big names don't play football any longer. Commitment is the order of the day. I'm happy African football has come of age. This is Tofik from Ketikrachi. Balak from Dansoman says, I think yesterday was the first time I witnessed someone to have the cojones to attempt a panenka at an AFCON and actually put it away. Love some of the techniques, but Eric Bailly looked like he did not know what he was. Okay, he didn't look like he knew he was supposed to take a penalty. Terrible approach and terrible execution. Now my money is on Gambia to win it. Yeah, Charlie boys are dreaming.
I know what happened with the Bailly situation.
Okay, yeah, let me finish this one. Fusheni from North East Region says, in fact, yesterday's game tells us that experience in football is working. Congrats to Egypt and Equatorial Guinea. Daniel.
Per the pre-match and pre-tournament Cote d'Ivoire plan, Frankesi was supposed to be in there. I don't think they had done a plan B. I don't think he was away.
Get somebody
to like,
Frankesi would have even taken the first one.
It was like, I will not do it. And they said, do it. I will not do it. He said, okay. And then he stood there.
And then he
started to give us
don't do it.
He said, because even after the match, he didn't look like he had affected him that much.
I saw visuals of him in the post-game mix zone. Yeah. He just covered his face with a cap, head down, and just walked past the
But I kind of go with that. Bailly has the air of a player who would try a little bit of chicanery and knocking.
Yeah. You mean like miss on purpose?
Not miss on purpose, but like okay, if I score, I score. If I miss, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think we can have a look at the full shootout before we go for a break, and then maybe we can talk through the kick. So I think we can get the tape rolling. All right.
Yeah. Hamid Bukaba Gabaski. Pepe weka mpira katika nyavu, alikwenda akamhamisha golikipa Nicola Pepe, fanya kazi nzuri na kumhamisha golikipa upande aliyokwenda golikipa, siku ambako upande wa mpira ambako umekwenda. Wakati mwingine pia ufundi unahitajika kufanyika ama kutumika. Upigaji wa penalty alimhadaa golikipa akaenda upande.
Right, so there we saw the first penalty. I actually thought he was going down the other side.
Yeah.
He put it away really well. And then your very good friend Sangare, who you did not think had the confident air.
Yeah, everyone says that no way he's saving this, so we can let this pass, obviously.
But this is a lovely penalty.
I think we have to be in silence for the reverence of how good this one was. A moment of silence for the keeper, because he had no chance.
He's standing, he's looking at it.
Come on, look at this.
The roof it, no chance.
That's a very unsavable. Daniel Kranti, does it not remind you of Owen Hargreaves?
It's a smile that kills me.
Does it not remind you of like Owen Hargreaves?
Oh, this was better. This was better.
Than Hargreaves against Peter Cech.
Sangari went the right way. No chance for him. Yeah.
The power,
the height of the ball.
You are not saving that. You are not saving that. So what's the name? They call it the postage stamp, right? Right in the corner.
In Algeria, it's called where the devil lives.
Okay, it was kicker number 2 for Cote d'Ivoire. Good penalty.
Good. He sent the goalkeeper the wrong way.
You see, that's what I was saying. The keeper went right every time. So when Bailly comes, just puts it to the keeper's left.
Well, and what if that's the time he decides?
Oh, he won't change. He won't change. You could see that he didn't even want. Okay, there's no conviction in his dive.
No conviction in the dive, eh?
He just knew he was going to go there no matter what.
So the Ivorian fans,
he didn't know what was coming.
Enjoying themselves.
Images that precede disaster.
Man, the images that precede the big moments. So this was kick number 3.
Badra, look. I think this one, he probably even looked like he moved before the kick. As in, like, both feet were off the line.
Doesn't he? Doesn't he look
because
a bit
I think the rule is that if he scores, he won't be retaken.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't he look a bit like Basti Samer?
Oh yeah,
he was way off the line.
He made it easy.
Exactly my point. Look, he was way off the line before.
Quick question.
Look at where he was.
Quick question.
Yes.
Wasn't Sangari the guy who was supposed to have ruled out like ruled out of the competition after the Sierra Leone game. That is mistake.
Yes.
That he got injured.
So what happened?
He's back.
But he's back. First choice.
Yeah, maybe he's still not himself. So this is Eric Bailly's penalty there.
Channeling his.
Look, they can't even move before he played the penalty, and he still put because he turned his head, so he didn't see the guy.
He didn't see. He turned his head.
Clearly,
When he was practicing his no-look penalties, where were you?
It looks like he still came into the shootout with the notes from the Sevilla game. So, sorry, the Villarreal game.
The no-look penalty.
Look, they can't even move before. Come on. He can't move before he played it. So I feel like, come on.
Yeah.
The greatest penalty.
The notes he brought from
I can bet you.
the Europa League
I
final.
can bet you he told Pogba, when it's time for penalties,
I'll try.
you watch what I'll do. You watch.
Look at it. They couldn't believe it.
I think what hurts them is the save even hit the post, so it was almost.
Again, my good friend Badra is standing there. He's rooted. The kick counts.
Friends, I'm beginning to believe you. He had no conviction.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the answer all over.
Neither did the Egyptian keeper. That's what I'm saying. Bailly made it easy for him. I don't think the Egyptian keeper thought he was coming to save anything.
Olele was even diving before the ball.
That's the same thing Badra is doing.
Olele probably didn't finish eating his food pre-match.
Yeah, so he wanted to go back quickly. So at this
He's
point,
moving before the kick.
so at this point, Cote d'Ivoire had to
This
score to
penalty
stay
was
alive.
the most interesting for me.
They had to score to stay alive. And Max Cornet did there.
So
You see how he
this
got
is one of those kicks. Both keeper and kicker knew where the ball was going.
But you see, he got him off balance.
He got him off balance.
You see, he was. You see.
That's it. So that
Even
extra step to the left.
Even if the keeper had saved, it would have been retaken.
Yes.
Look
He
at
had
where
gone
he
off
was,
his line.
exactly.
He had gone off his line there. And there's that person shouting "Ale, ale, ale," and all of that. And Patrice Baumel trying to get, the Ivorians going. So this was a kick number 4 for the Egyptians, and brilliant kick there. Enough
This was
power.
the closest my good friend came to.
Yeah, enough power, enough pace to go past that.
Yeah.
And Mohamed El Neni rallying the troops, getting them to believe that.
Let's forgive Badra. He lost his father, so.
Well, this one he tried. He really tried to save.
A day after the injury, yes.
He really tried to save, but it was too quick for him. Again, not showing the most confidence of heirs. And the Egyptians knew that one more kick was enough to send them through. Wilf Zaha, another confident penalty he took there.
So you were talking about Bailly not looking. Zaha wasn't looking either.
But look at how well he hit his penalty.
Exactly. At the time of the kick, like at the time he hit the ball, he wasn't looking at the post. And I think that's typical Zaha, actually. Mostly he will look away slightly before the kick.
I think
But his eye was on the ball. There are two things. There are some people who look at the keeper. There are some people who look at the ball. Bailly was looking at the referee or his goalkeeper sitting at the side.
I think
he was looking somewhere.
I think
He
Zaha's
wasn't looking at the
technique
ball,
is
he
so that
wasn't
the
looking
keeper can't guess with
He can't guess
where
it.
he's looking, where he's going to put the penalty.
And there
So he
you
looks-
have-
but he's decided already and hits it hard. I mean, look at the conviction of that penalty and Bailly. You can't compare.
You can't compare them. And there you have
Mo Salah,
the last
with
kick,
the
Mo
zigzag
Salah. There's the Mo Salah run.
I think Ronaldinho used to zigzag a bit as well.
Step one way. I think Neymar also.
Yeah, Neymar, even Rooney.
And there you have it there. This was the moment that the Ivorians were knocked out of the competition. All right, so we've seen all kinds of misses in competitions, and it's like defenders not putting away their penalties. Let's take you back to 2010, where you had John Mensah missing his penalty. And we did a story that Eric Bailly, was telling his inner John Mensah, not in technique, but you just see how John Mensah took his kick against the Uruguayans. And maybe you can make your own notes of comparison.
Why did
John Mensah is next up for Ghana. This to make it all square again. And John Mensah sees the shot saved by Muslera. It is advantage Uruguay. They lead.
In the penalty
Hold
there.
on, no. Why was he surprised?
That
he
penalty is
missed?
actually
I
worse
don't
in
get why
hindsight.
he's...
That's so much worse in hindsight.
It's so terrible
He
when
didn't
you watch
actually
it
think
back.
he was going to
But
score.
that penalty is closer to Sako's penalty, the Malian guy who missed.
Oh, God.
Anyway, all right, let's do the AFCON Daily Show. We'll just take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a bit more about the AFCON and ask ourselves, is it a minnows competition? Will a small team win? You never know. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. So now the quarterfinals are set. Maybe you can have a look at the fixture tree. That feeds nicely into the next bit of the discussion. There you have it. So you see the established names: Cameroon, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Burkina Faso to an extent, and Senegal. The two countries I haven't mentioned, Gambia and Equatorial Guinea. They are the minnows. At this stage, they are the teams with the least experience in terms of the AFCON. They've never won it before. They've never gone as far, as deep into the competition as a lot of these other countries. So we are wondering, how well can these two countries do? Equatorial Guinea and Gambia. How well can they do? How far could they potentially go in this competition? Can they even win it? Are people even thinking that they can win? Susu, you've been looking at a few things, and will we have a Gambian win?
I think if they continue finishing, Gambia at least, continue finishing like they've started the tournament, it's very possible. Because I just want to look at their group stage record for a second. This was a very efficient team. So even though they took 24 shots, it only amounted to an XG of 2. So you would say, oh, they are not creating good opportunities. But with that 2 XG, they scored 3 goals. That's a great overperformance. And usually, kind of hot streaks like this can last over 6 or 7 games. They won't last over the course of a season, but you only need it to last 2-3 more games for it to be good and maybe get to penalties, win the competition. So I don't think that's a problem. So their efficiency is very great, and that's what sets them up. And I think most of the minnows we are talking about have similar efficiency. They are not creating a lot of quote-unquote good chances, as I would call them, or high-quality chances, but they are scoring. They are taking a lot of shots from outside. They are using their technique, and they are beating their keepers. Because the truth is, they do have some good technical players, and they are making use of what they have. There's a lot more space when you play deep and break in behind. So that's probably what's helping them. So let's compare them to favorites. Me and Fenty have said we are looking at Morocco to kind of win the competition. So this Morocco after their last game. So you can see Morocco have an XG of 9.7 and they've only scored 7 goals. So Morocco are the opposite. They are creating high quality opportunities, but they are not taking them. What's to say that in their next game, they are not going to get an XG of 2 and score no goals. So if their finishing continues like this, it becomes a problem. We always say things revert back to the mean, but how long before it reverts back to the mean? Will it happen before the tournament ends, or will they continue underperforming their XG and it will cost them eventually? Because you can't keep on taking good opportunities and missing. Because even look at these 2 dots. I don't know if you can see the 2 dots on the 2 red dots there. It's very difficult to see, but there's 2 red dots. Those are 2 of Hakimi's free kicks. Okay. Now remove those free kicks. I don't know if you can see it right here. So if you remove Hakimi's free kicks, that's 5 goals. And Hakimi's free kicks are not even that noticeable in the XG. So you remove them, it's probably down to an XG of 9.6, 9.5. And still, that's 5 goals now. Look at all these, kind of circles in here that they are not taking. Okay. If they continue like that, I think they'll have some problems because Hakimi has bailed them out in a few games. And that's not sustainable like what we said. But if you're dominating, getting space in behind, so I'll go back to the play chart I always talk about. The minnows are here, fast and direct. They get in behind, they take advantage of space. When the teams here, their strategy works, it's more dangerous for a lot of teams because there's more space in behind. When you are playing on this side, you need things to work for. The space is congested. You've slowed the game down, you won't control. The other team doesn't have the ball, fair enough, but will you be able to create those clear-cut opportunities to score? Look at Mali. Mali were right here, best passing team in the competition. Against Equatorial Guinea, they were like a toothless lion. What was the point? No drive, no determination, no ability to score. Let me not say toothless lion, because lions also have claws, so I'll say a toothless shark. So the point here is that your play style can give some results. Again, for Mali like this, it means you are unlikely to concede. But if you're also like Mali and you can't score, what's the point? We are seeing teams like Cameroon and then Senegal are also another example. They are not scoring. I don't know what's going to happen to them. They only scored against 9-man Cape Verde, like we said. So if Senegal continues, they are keeping the ball and they are not actually able to break down teams. It will go to penalties and they are at the mercy of a coin flip, like we said. And I don't know how much research these big teams have done. I think the small teams will have prioritized that kind of research because it's more beneficial to them. Those small, 1%, 2% opportunities makes more sense for a small team. If you're Senegal, you're thinking, we have Mane, we have Crepin Diatta, we have Ismail Assar, we have this, we have that. So I think we have to really pay attention to the small teams. I think we have underrated them a bit. And that's the problem with some of these data models. they are not able to get those kind of cutting edge, like slight things that might just take you over the edge. It just focuses on what is on the pitch. Like, okay, this team's quality is this, and this team's quality is that. So that's why you see teams like Morocco and Senegal on their quote-unquote spreadsheet have a higher chance of winning. But you watch Senegal play, and I don't think they are going to win the AFCON. But I think Opta's new algorithm has put them as favourites because of their player quality. So I think Daniel is right. A well-executed game plan is essential to winning this AFCON. I think the small teams have it down. And I think the big teams need a bit of a rethink.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. And I think for my only challenge with, for example, the smaller teams like Gambia, for example, is that unlike, say, Morocco, who have faced so many different scenarios in a game, like being behind, Gambia has never had to deal with that. So it will be very important to see how they're able to deal with adversity, like going behind. Because if you look at their style of play, the way I think Gambia are they have the lowest line block, defensive block in the entire competition. If you look at their average, they start their play 33 meters or so away from goal.
There was some stats about their passes per defensive action. So kind of measures presses. They are basically last. They don't press that much. And Fence is right. They've only spent, in their group stage, 2% of the group stage behind of their playing time, which is up there with Mali, Nigeria, and Cote d'Ivoire. But those teams are out. So it's something they should be wary of.
So I think that would be something very interesting to see. But obviously, they have deserved where they are today. And I keep saying that this is not by accident. It is proper coaching. And Tom Saife, he's the one that's varied the most tactics in this competition. I think in the 4 games that they have played, he's used about 3 different systems.
Interesting.
And he's got recent results from every single one of those matches. So he's a tactically astute manager. I wouldn't be... I wouldn't
say it.
You wouldn't say no if he appointed Black Stars manager.
Before. I would love him.
Give him the cosign.
I would love him to be in charge of the Black Stars, because I've seen what he's done with even Malawi. I've seen what he's done with Zimbabwe. I've seen what he's done with Gambia now. And even seen what he's done with teams in the Middle East. And he's never really had the opportunity for stability and to work with high quality talents. And if you give him that, I'm sure that he would absolutely deliver. So for me, if I were given the opportunity now to choose any coach to handle the Black Stars today, I'm going for the Gambian manager, because he's also got great understanding of the African context.
Daniel, you have the final word. You are, amongst all of us here, you are always the one who's the most sympathetic to underdogs.
Not just all the underdogs, the serious underdogs.
The serious underdogs. Because some underdogs are not serious.
People like Ethiopia.
No, it's true. I don't think Ethiopia are underdogs.
No,
you see, the underdog tag, you have to reach a certain...
Ethiopia are underdogs in all the group games.
Yes. Is it? No, I think that is a slightly...
Okay, an underdog is a team that has no reputation. It's not known.
Yes, but with a chance. Like, for example, if Brazil is playing against Ethiopia, I just feel like it's not appropriate to say Ethiopia are underdogs. So it's like they're just coming to play.
No,
but
my point is they could have done better. They could have done better. The sort of football they play, they should have
been smarter.
They should have been smarter. Yeah. There's no reason why, for me personally, there's no reason why Equatorial Guinea and Gambia cannot reach the final and face each other. I'm a strong believer on defensive organization.
Okay.
I feel in football, and I've seen it over and over again, you can always stop a team from scoring. You can always do that. You can always devise a game plan to stop a team from scoring. But what is very difficult, also in the flip side, is also, or when I say what is easy, is getting a goal out of anything. We've seen Mourinho, we've seen Diego Simeone, we've seen Gambia, we've seen Equatorial Guinea do it. Set pieces, long range shots, own goals, they are all goals. Do you get me? So you can frustrate your opposition. And you see, when it comes to international football, because these teams have not been playing together for a very long time, it's actually easy to be, not easy, but it's, as compared to club football, it's easier to devise a game plan to stop people from playing their football, because it's not as fluid enough. You look at Senegal, who are struggling for goals. In fact, almost everybody in this competition has struggled for goals, bar Cameroon and Morocco. So, and even the Cameroonians have not been that impressive. It's because they face Ethiopia, and anybody will beat Ethiopia. But look, I honestly feel that the Gambians and Equatorial Guineans, they have smart managers, they have technically good players, and they can go all the way, especially Gambia for me.
All right, we'll see how that one goes. The Gambians, Daniel Cranton believes they could go far. We'll see what happens. We are back tomorrow with some more AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. We'll catch you then. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care and bye-bye.